Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
You know, you say here as always, and yet it feels like things are a little different than the last time we recorded.
Well, for one, you can't really buy hazmat suits over the counter, but you can buy beekeepers' hats.
Oh, smart.
So that explains my outfit here today. The world has changed, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's continually changing. Like, there's new things every 7 to 8 minutes about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and now it has reached sports. And once it reaches sports, then now it becomes a real problem.
Yeah, now everyone has to care about it. Now that it involves sports, yes.
Yeah, now it's serious.
Yeah, we normally record on Wednesdays. We're recording on Thursday this week just because that's how the schedule worked out. And
it's a good thing.
Boy, this show would have sounded real different 24 hours ago.
We could have previewed some Big Ten men's basketball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We could have maybe even previewed a spring game for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of that is gone. About 2 hours before we started recording, the Big Ten men's basketball tournament was canceled, which comes a day or two before it was announced there'd be no fans, which you had mentioned the timeline of events.
Yeah, I pulled the timeline up. Brian Fisher, who I think is still with CBS Sports, but he's with someone. Brian Fisher, he tweeted out a timeline just of all the stuff that happened on Wednesday. And at 1:50 p.m., they closed Columbus Blue Jackets home games to fans. That was at 1:50 p.m. yesterday. Less than an hour later, Governor Mike DeWine confirmed that NCAA games in Ohio would be without fans. And then 4:15 p.m., NCAA advises against holding sports events without fans. At 4:30, they announced the NCAA tournament will be played without fans. 4:50, Italy shuts down commercial activity. Seems bad. 5:24, Michigan cancels spring game, but that's never really much of an event up there, so I don't know why that's on here. Yeah. 6:38 p.m., Big Ten closes men's basketball tournament and all spring sports to fans. 7:59, Ohio State head coach Ryan Day announces they were shutting down recruiting for 30 days. 8:50 p.m., Ohio State cancels spring game. 9:04 p.m., President Trump announces Europe travel ban. 9:06 p.m., Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson say they tested positive for coronavirus. 9:11 p.m., SEC closes men's basketball tournament to fans. 9:27, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz reportedly test positive for coronavirus. 9:31 p.m., NBA season suspended. I was in bed early last night because I had a real early meeting, and every time I refreshed my phone, it was like, wait, what? What? No one's flying back from Europe now. 2 minutes later, Tom Hanks has it. 10 minutes later, like, what? What is going on?
I don't ever recall anything like this. Like, there are days where a whole bunch of news happens, but just the progressive levels of, like, this is more serious and more serious and more serious, and people are taking it more seriously, and you have not
Fred Hoiberg, friends.
Well,
not Fred Hoiberg.
Let's talk about that. And I think I was one of the many Americans who were kind of appalled that he would coach last night. But he got cleared to do that from the doctors on hand.
Maybe it's time to explore new doctors. If your head coach has influenza A, which the test confirmed he did, and let's read the room, gang. What's going on in the world?
So to let him do that, clearly they couldn't have known for sure what he was going on with, unless the doctors there are coronavirus experts and they know, look, we just came back from China. You don't have nothing.
Or
you don't have
or they've been on Twitter. I hear that also qualifies you.
That is true. But yeah, to go through that and then to put everybody through what they had to go through, especially me, who had trouble sleeping, thinking like, I would like to know more news about this, but I had fallen asleep, and then you wake up at like 2 a.m. and you're like, I should check my phone, but I'm so tired. And so he didn't think about me, but also didn't think about his players, who then had to be quarantined until they could figure out if he was negative or positive. And then I think that's what woke everybody up. That's where, now Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner, said today that he was going to come to this decision to cancel the tournament regardless of what happened last night. But I think that was the first time where everybody was like, if this happens during any type of tournament, like that team is out. The team they're playing is out.
Right.
They have to be quarantined for 14 days. The refs, everybody is out. That entire building is done, or, however they want to do it. And so then Kevin Warren is saying, today we did this for the safety of the student athletes. And that's what you always have to, that's where, when you have difficult decisions like this to make, that's where you simplify things and say, what is the best thing right now? What is the best thing? And the best thing is always, Tom, the protection, the safety. What is best for the student athletes? That's the NCAA's sole focus. What is best for the student athletes? They just want what is best for the student athletes and what is best for them. That's what they want. More than anything, Tom.
Mm-hmm. That's what it says on this piece of paper that they gave me to read. Yes, sure.
I'm just trying to get the flames to shoot out of your head right now.
It's pretty hard to melt my brain after this week, but
true. And so then Warren was asked, what do you think about the NCAA tournament going forward? He said he talked to Mark Emmert and just shared his thoughts. And
what do you think about the NCAA? I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
The NCAA tournament hasn't been canceled yet as of the time we're recording this, unless it has happened since the last time we refreshed Twitter, which is always a possibility.
Well, that's the other thing. Something could be happening as we're talking. What I would suggest, though, if you do run a March Madness pool, run it right now and run it without, you can't get your money back. Like no refunds.
No refunds, yeah.
So get your $5 a bracket going right now, because you may only have 2 hours to get it done. So run through your office, assuming you're still working in an office and not working from home. If you are working from home now, Venmo, PayPal, get that stuff in from your coworkers as quickly as possible, because there ain't going to be no NCAA tournament this year.
And speaking of things that have happened since we hit record, the NHL has decided to let's see what the word is. Pause. Their word is pause, not cancel.
Is that cancel? Is
pause.
That Canadian?
Yes.
Like the NBA has postponed.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL has paused.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Ten tournament is canceled.
Yes.
Warren was definitive on that. And spring practice.
Yeah, Ohio State spring practice right now. The spring game is not happening.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of vagaries about what is and isn't going to happen. Because, you were talking earlier about the fact that some of the NBA teams are still practicing, but not playing. So Ohio State football could theoretically continue to practice, and those could theoretically be open to the media or interview sessions, or the spring game could be replaced with some sort of scrimmage. This is all a little bit up in the air right now. At the rate at which things are changing, I'm not sure Ohio's going to be a state in a week and a half. But
I think as of yesterday, I'd have to check my texts. As of yesterday, the plan is to continue practice on Tuesday, football practice.
Yes, that is the plan.
But at this point, looking 4 or 5 days ahead of where you are right now, it matters nothing. It's like a 12-day forecast.
Right.
The 12th day, you might not quite be exactly correct on that 12th day.
Mm-hmm.
But so then I was wondering, what would the media availabilities, if they still happen, be? Because I think the social distancing thing of being 6 feet apart from everyone, while it's not happening during this show, although as just to let you know, we're in a parking lot. Tom pulls up to my car and rolls down his window and said, "Should we do the show this way?"
So Tony's sitting in his car 2 parking spots away from mine.
We could have set the phone the phone I record on, in the middle, and the microphones we could have stretched, and we have the windows rolled up just enough, but you still have to kind of shout to hear each other.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm thinking,
and it would be very unlike this podcast to have bad audio. That's not what this is all about.
Yeah, we're not going to lower the quality for sake of ease and safety.
Mm-hmm.
The social distancing thing, I think, and at this point, if means nothing is going, if means canceled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If the interview sessions continue, I would expect them to roll one player in at a time at the podium in the team room while we're at least 3 rows back.
Yeah.
And doing it that way. That's about the only way I see any type of spring availability continuing. And not that that's important to the people, but it's important to me and it's important to you. But there may be no spring practice once everybody gets back, because I think a lot of stuff is going to happen this weekend where it's like, you know what? We're shutting it all down.
Right. I mean, at some point, what's going to happen with elementary schools and high schools, and, if they make a decision at some point to, close some of those for some period of time, which, again, this is stuff that 2 weeks ago would have sounded like ludicrous, and now it seems almost inevitable in some ways.
Yeah.
If every other level of society is closing in order to further this one goal, maybe this all happens. And perhaps this is something where the NCAA steps in at some point and just says, spring football is, we're changing the calendar for spring football this year. I mean, there's been discussion about changing the recruiting calendar, where Ohio State voluntarily said, we're not recruiting for the next 30 days. Maybe the NCAA comes in and says, okay, we're going to make this a dead period, and then 2 months from now, what you used to be able to do in April, now you can do in June. Maybe there's something done with spring football where, okay, yes, normally you would not be doing spring football in mid-May to early June, but now you are. I think that generally the sense is, and please, even though I do have a Twitter account, I am not an expert on these types of things, but I think generally my sense is that the idea is this is probably not going to go on indefinitely, that there's probably a period of time in which there are some significant restrictions, and then after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the time period is, life somewhat goes back to normal. That they might be able to just say, okay, we're going to delay everything. We're just going to push pause on spring practice, to steal the NHL's term, and push it all back 6 weeks or 8 weeks. That's a possibility. Obviously, this is all extremely subject to change, as is everything right now.
Yeah, and just like Ryan Day is proposing 5 days of spring football in Ohio, maybe the NCAA gives, schools 5 practices in June or something like that, or, late May, just to help out in some way, because at this point, you just assume everything is going to be canceled. Like, for now, OSU isn't even allowing students, to go to class, in-person classes. It's all online. Things like that. Some campuses aren't even allowing the students back. Mm-hmm. So if that's the next step, like in terms of you can't even come back to the dorms, then there'd be no, football players, that would include them as well. Mm-hmm. So you wonder each step, what is the next step for Ohio State? And we will see. Chris Holtman, Ohio State basketball coach, is talking today about basically, the season is probably over.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And their last game was a loss to Michigan State on the road, but they finished strong. And what a way to the whole kissing your sister, a tie. This is what a pitiful end to just the entire season. Like, although I saw the ACC did crown Florida State the ACC tournament champs because they were the number 1 seed. So,
I mean, okay, congratulations, good job, everyone. Yeah, I like the idea that this is the first time that Indiana has ever won the final game of the Big Ten men's basketball tournament. Friends, if we can't laugh at Indiana basketball,
though, if Tom Crean was still around, he'd be cutting down those
100%. Yeah, breaking back into the arena. Yeah, yeah. It's very strange to think that this, that. And again, this is we're kind of speculating on what the NCAA might do, but it sure seems like they're at the very least going to be postponing stuff at the very least, and if it's canceled, like this is. That's tough. I mean, you sort of went through this with some of the kids on the Ivy League teams last week or a few days ago. I don't remember. It could have been 6 years,
exactly.
6 years ago or 36 hours.
It was 10:30 this morning.
Yeah. When the Ivy League canceled its tournament, the way they do it is they have 4 teams and they just play the top 4 seeds all play at the, at one site, and then the winner goes to the NCAA tournament, and everyone else, their season's done. Well, There were 4 teams that went into that tournament expecting, okay, we're going to have a chance to play for an NCAA tournament berth. They canceled it, and they just said, okay, Yale wins because Yale won the regular season. And that's it. Good night, everybody. And your career, your season, and possibly your career is over if you're a senior. And that's, I'm sure that's tough for players to accept. That's because, this is, you've invested years and years and years of your life into this, and then all of a sudden, ta-da, it's done.
It's such a whimper. And like you said, everything is moving so fast. You texted me because I was actually watching the Big Ten Network this morning, getting ready to watch basketball. And you texted me and say, "Hey, the men's tournament is canceled." I'm like, "Oh, Tom, I am currently watching Rutgers and Michigan on the court warming up for a tip as the studio show previews this game." So I don't think you know what you're talking about. But again, as you said, you do have Twitter. And that's where the news broke that, hey, they're, so I'm watching them do this segment, and then they come back from commercial, and they're like, a bit of news, the tournament is now canceled, and they show footage of the players like walking off the court completely dejected, and just, you feel terrible for those seniors that had, and like, that's one of the things somebody on Big Ten Network said. Everybody playing starting today in the Big Ten tournament, their coaches, their players thought they had a shot to win this thing because the Big Ten is so wide open. And so I can't say great because I don't think the teams are great. I'll just say wide open.
Well, we might never find out. So
I cannot be proven wrong.
So this is when you SEC it and just say, well,
there you go.
Well, ACC teams, if you had played in the Big Ten,
yes,
you would have looked like Northwestern this year. So take that, Duke.
And congrats to Alabama on another national title.
UCF's going to claim it. This is, I'm reminded of the ancient Chinese blessing / curse. May you live in interesting times.
Well, I'm just scanning down the the front page on the Ozone, and March 10th, you wrote, "Decision on NCAA tournament to be made in the coming days." And then the following is, the next day it's, Governor DeWine, no fans at NCAA tournament games in Ohio. And then it's official, no fans in attendance for men's, women's NCAA basketball tournaments. Then no fans permitted to attend Big Ten tournament beginning Thursday because they were there on Wednesday. And then it's the recruiting adjustments. And then the spring game is canceled. And then the Big Ten tournament is officially canceled. And then Kevin Warren talks about why. And one of the things he said is the Big Ten is a leader nationally, which I think they are, and maybe... Not that they were the first to cancel, but when you're the first biggest, because everybody else canceled around them, except the Big East tournament, which did cancel at halftime of one of the games.
Oh, did it really?
Like, you know what? We are the lone conference tournament going on right now, and it's halftime. Now's a pretty good time to stop. What do you guys think? Should we just go home now?
We got the commercial revenue from the first half. That's
something. It feels like some of these entities, I don't know if they're being shamed into it or just didn't want to be the first or didn't. You figure maybe we've done enough because we've eliminated the fans. But once you, like the whole the Rudy Gobert thing, once one player gets it, that just eliminates the entire what if scenario because now it's here.
Right.
Now you've got to deal with it. Well, how do we deal with it? And if you take the what if scenario out of it and just imagine we have a guy that has it, how do we keep it from going anywhere else? And that's kind of what the whole flattening the curve that has been talked about with the pandemic with COVID-19. You have to flatten that out. And that's where steps like these where they may never come into contact with it, but it's because of canceling this. And the best thing in the world that could happen, and I tweeted this out the other day, with the politicization of diseases and the viruses, the best thing that could happen is in 2 months...
Not coronavirus.
Well, we have no test kit in this car. But in 2 months, this thing is no longer an issue. And the people who said it was a hoax are vindicated, and the people who were so correct in, like, let's cancel everything are also vindicated. I don't care I don't care who is right, as long as this thing, the outcome that we want happens. And whether it's because everybody took action or because it was fake.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take either one right now, Tom.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal here is, what if as many people live through this as possible? That would be great. So, and I know that there's been a lot of like, well, why would you worry about the players? The players aren't going to get super sick. Well, the players have families, and the players have athletic trainers who they're working with, and, you know, coaches who are older, and those coaches have families, and, you know, those coaches' families will probably go grocery shopping at some point, and they will pass someone in the grocery store. And, you know, there's not just a first order effect here. Like there are first order and second order and third order. And like, this is something that, you know what, like if everything just sort of settles down for a couple weeks and then life can go back to normal, then that's probably a win. Mm-hmm. And if this is an overabundance of caution, then, you know, that's not literally the worst thing that could happen here.
No, I was running errands this morning, running around, and I was going to grab some breakfast from McDonald's, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just eat from home.
What if I didn't?
Yeah.
McDonald's. What if I didn't?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just little things like that, and I wash my hands so often now. I've got, like, you know, old lady hands, basically. I have to get some of my wife's, like, lotion that, you know, from Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever. There's no harm in treating it as if, you know, doing what you can do. And when people say, well, really, it's only deadly to old people. Like, how heartless are you?
Do you like any old people? Have you ever in your life liked old people? Do you know people who might have compromised immune systems? Like,
exactly.
I went and got a haircut this morning because I thought, you know, what if I couldn't get a haircut for a month because a bunch of these places are closed? So I went and just got a haircut this morning, and of the 3 barbers there, one of them is well over 80, and another one is recovering from cancer. And, you know, both of them could be people who are at heightened risk from this. And you know, neither of them was there today, and they are being extra careful and wiping down everything in that shop and all of that. And, you know, that's great, but you have to think about people like that who, if you're walking past them in the grocery store, you might not know that the person next to you is recovering from cancer. So you just have to accept the fact that sometimes you're going to have some minor inconveniences.
And what is the inconvenience?
Well, the economic impact here is obviously pretty significant of all of these tournaments being canceled, and, you know,
that's been like personally.
Oh, personally,
to
yeah,
you.
Personally to a lot of individuals.
You're out of toilet paper. Yes, that is an inconvenience.
Pretty significant.
Gee
yes.
whiz.
Yeah, that's not the one that would be an impact with the toilet paper.
No, that's true.
But, you know, I mean, there are significant economic fallout from this, and I don't want to underplay that, but, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that is, you know, people who are, you know, waiters and waitresses in Indianapolis restaurants this week who are counting on this as being a huge weekend of tips to, you know, to make their rent for next month, and who now are not, you know, just those are the people you need to be thinking about. You've got to be, let's think about others for a while, friends. Let's think about the people who might be impacted by the virus.
Yeah.
Let's think about the people who might be impacted by, you know, the fallout from the virus and the event cancellations and that type of stuff. Let's take care of each other. What if we did that and not worried about, well, I can't run my NCAA pool this year, maybe.
Well, then, Tom, I would argue, or not, as the devil's advocate, because I know there's some out there, they are agreeing with you. Let's think about the people in the arenas, because you and your panic are taking away their jobs right now. The arenas are closed, so those workers aren't getting any benefits. They're not getting paid, and it's all because of it's not. There's 4 cases in Ohio, Tom. 4 confirmed cases. Why should I be impacted? Why should I be worried about? I should be able to go to McDonald's if I want in the morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night. Why should I have to change what I do when it's not even here? I mean, what's he going to do? Spread?
Counterpoint. Why should I be the one that answers the question that's going to get everyone mad at me? Yeah, I mean, it's just, this is one of these things where, yes, even if you've been on Twitter, even if you've read, you know, watched some cable TV news, you may have to defer to authority a little bit on this. And if the National Institutes of Health is saying this is 10 times more, contagious or deadly or whatever it was than the flu. Like, maybe we should stop comparing it to the flu, friends. But what if that?
Yeah. And really, the worst thing that we've seen so far, I shouldn't say the worst thing, one of them is Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson, contracting the virus. But I watched a video with Chet Hanks, their rapper son.
Northwestern's own.
And he said they're doing well. They're doing fine. So don't worry. They're upbeat. And, we were talking before the show, like Tom Hanks could possibly bring the country and the world together because now he gives a face to the virus, and now everybody knows somebody that's dealing with it. However, if him and his wife just skate right through it, like, told you, like, it was no more than a common cold, they're fine, and it's no big deal, then it's like, well, crap.
I'm not sure I'd want to be on the side of upset that Tom Hanks recovered, but okay.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it was no big deal. I told you it was no big deal to Tom Hanks. Or, Tom Hanks he's probably close to 60.
Mm-hmm.
He's still walking just fine. He's out there, and like it never happened.
Stars, they're just like us.
So,
you want to, before we get in any more trouble, you want to answer some questions?
That's all I want to do, Tom. Yes, let's do that. And here's to set these questions up. Remember, we've had 2 media sessions so far in the spring. Last Monday with Ryan Day, and Wednesday with the tight ends and linebackers, which prompted me tweeting on Wednesday night that if we don't have any more media availabilities with position players and coaches, the linebackers at Ohio State and the tight ends are going to have a lot of stories written about them this spring because there's nobody else that we've talked to. So you're going to get to know these guys really, really well once all of the availabilities get canceled. So just keep that in mind.
All right, first one from @8Laces. 8 written out, not the number. What do you feel are the best lessons Ohio State can take away from last season, and what can they do this offseason to address / learn from those?
Tom?
Don't have turnovers against Clemson. Don't have bad calls against Clemson. I mean,
let somebody run 5 steps instead of 4 before stripping the ball.
I think the big takeaway is just, again, something that Ryan Day was stressing a lot last year is just the precision required to do this. That they just absolutely beat the tar out of just about everyone in the Big Ten season. And then, okay, now you've seen that when you get to the college football playoff, the little stuff that slid against Northwestern and Nebraska and even Penn State, where they had some turnovers against Penn State and they got away with it because they were substantially better than Penn State. Some of that stuff, a couple dropped passes and maybe an interception, just the little stuff that you get away with earlier in the season, you can't get away with later. So you have to be more precise. And that's something that Ryan Day was, sort of a point of emphasis for him last year. And I think the team did a pretty good job, following up on that and paying attention to that and learning from that. But, okay, now you've seen it in person. So now, in the same way that teams who win the national championship often come back a little flat and the teams that lose in the national championship often come back a little more fired up, this is an opportunity for them to just kind of, okay, now that we've seen it, now we need to take those 1 or 2 extra steps.
Yeah, and I think how you can lose to a team and see how far away you are from being as good as they are. Mm-hmm. I think the opposite happens here, where you lost to that team knowing you shouldn't have lost because you made so many mistakes of your own doing that you were better. Like, I think Ohio State is better than Clemson last year, but the mistakes at that time cost them. Mm-hmm. They weren't a lot better, but they were better. I'll just say that. And that's a frustration. That leaves you hungry, wanting more. It certainly doesn't leave you with a level of satisfaction. You're not going to rest on that game. Like, hey, we were pretty good last year. Let's just try to be that good again this year. No, you want to be better than that. And the thing is, you can be because you saw it last year. You just have to execute. And yeah, you're right. That the examples are there for the players to take it even more seriously this year. And no lax, no relaxing. And again, 5 steps strip, jump on the ball.
Yeah, and the thing that because they came so close, probably just about everyone on that team has something that's like, if I had only fill in the blank, and it's, whether it's throwing an interception, running a wrong route, having the wrong run fit when you're on defense,
that would be a good
not catching a pass. I mean,
that would be a good exercise for each of the players. Like have Ryan Day, like what do you think you could have done, or what was the one thing that if you would have done it differently could have changed this outcome? Because how many of those players would have that?
Right.
And that would be something that would just either destroy them or make them stronger.
Yeah.
And as the saying goes, what doesn't destroy you, makes you stronger.
Maybe. I mean, that was something Mickey Marotti talked about back in January was, knowing kind of what will work with these guys to motivate them and using those kind of pressure points. And, I think they've got a pretty good sense. And I would think that being an Ohio State player, playing at the level of Ohio State, is somewhat self-selecting for people who can take some criticism, learn from it. If you're the kind of guy who huffs off and stomps his feet and pouts every time he gets criticized, you're probably not going to have improved enough over the course of your life to make it to Ohio State. So
yeah, like for me, the worst way to motivate me is to try to motivate me. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave me be, and then tell me how good I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to push me. Don't try to get me to excel. It won't work.
Welcome to the Inertia Weekly podcast. Next one from @ElJefe003. Who would win in a fight, Buckeye Guy or Big Nut? And Big Nut is the one who has the silver painted bald head, right?
Now, here's what I think. When you paint your entire face, that says more. That says something about you that you're willing to go further. Wearing an outfit just says you like to wear outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they both wear outfits, but who has more of an outfit? Big Nut or Buckeye Guy?
Well, I think Big Nut has, isn't he wearing some kind of a helmet on his head?
No, that's his head. It's painted.
Oh, okay. Then I'm thinking of someone else maybe that has, someone has a little hat or something with maybe not. I don't know. See, I've made a kind of a point to not pay attention to these people, so my insights here may not go much beyond. I don't know. I'd like to see one of them get punched.
Here, let me just Google Big Nut.
Make sure Safe Search is on.
Big Nut has a lower base. Like he's heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Buckeye Guy, he from my interactions with him, or my interactions with people who have had interactions with him, he's more of a verbal altercator rather than a fighter. Like he I don't know if he would step up to a fight. He wants to be your friend after you've paid him $5 for a photo.
I'm looking, and Big Nut does wear a helmet. So,
well, see, I guess you do know those guys.
See, there you go. Here's how
let me see that.
Here's how this would play out. Big Nut would punch him in the face, and then Buckeye Guy would try to charge him $5 for punching him in the face.
So who wins in that regard?
America.
I just to give a final answer, I would sign with Big Nut. I'd side with him over Buckeye Guy because, again, white cowboy hats, yeah.
There's not a lot of protective value there.
No.
I feel like we should clarify we are not endorsing violence toward any Ohio State superfans in this conversation.
True. I would also clarify that Tom's thoughts do not coincide with mine at all times, but not here.
Next one from Tim Jesberger. Do you think at Buckeye Notes, which is Jerry Emig, the Ohio State SID, would let you do media availability via Zoom/WebEx/GoToMeeting? You can all gather around virtual tables and everything.
See, Tom, I think that is a great idea, but I think it would take a lot of effort. And if something is going to take a lot of effort right now, it seems like, you know what, we're just, no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could do teleconferences. Things are set up for that. But it just feels like if spring practices are canceled, then forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are going on, you would think they would try to make something happen some way. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, I'm sure they have telecom capabilities. We could be in one room talking to the players in another room over there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a lot of effort, and I have to be really careful about how I say stuff like this when we're talking about how the SIDs at Ohio State really don't care about us or care about our needs. That's not true.
The views of Tony Gerdeman do not reflect.
No, but it's like you're asking them to go way above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And the players, you're asking them to go way above and beyond. And right now, as we're seeing, like the going above and beyond has been for the players,
mm-hmm.
not necessarily for the media. Not that I can't say I like that, but I don't expect a whole bunch of allowances, I guess, right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would expect that. Nothing would surprise me less than all of this eventually being canceled and everything just being closed for 2 weeks, and then maybe pick it back up. Now, I think there is a case to be made that from let's say a widespread emotional uplifting kind of thing, it might not be bad to have some other things to focus on other than everything is closed. There's a word for that. I'm not coming up with it, but
I've always used widespread uplifting.
Morale.
Okay.
Like from a morale perspective, that wouldn't be bad, and I'm sure that everyone would enjoy reading about, hey, here's what, if practices are still going on, hey, here's what's going on. Life is a little bit normal in some ways. But, the realities of the world have not necessarily aligned all that closely with morale building.
Right, and it's like the sooner when stuff like this, not that anything like this, but when stuff of a national scope happens, it's like the sooner you can get back to sports, the sooner things start to get back to normal.
Just Google the phrase "return to normalcy" in quotes and literally any bad event, and it's like, okay, I mean, I am an East Coast native, and I can tell you that the phrase "return to normalcy" started getting used right after the first Mets game following 9/11, and Mike Piazza hit a big home run late in the game. And everyone talked about the fact that that was a major, turning point in life, just that it was like, okay, life is going to go on. And, what was the actual value of that? Nothing tangible, but just in terms of, the morale, there is something to be said for that. And this is obviously a very different type of situation than that, but, there is something to be said for that. So, we will, I'm sure we will stop doing, we'll eventually run out of events that they're closing to write about, and then we can go back to writing about kind of more normal stuff.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
Like if we get to talk to, I don't even know the players that we're scheduled to talk to next week, but say we get to talk to the quarterbacks, and people see some videos, they read some stories, and they're like, you know what? I don't need all this toilet paper. I can give some of it away. I don't need to keep buying it. Just return to normalcy, like you said. I would expect that after the spring, we would get to talk to all of the coaches. And that's something that we've been able to do most of the years over the last 4 or 5. So I would think that after things have calmed down, be it May or whenever, that we would just get, a half hour with each of them 1 day or 2 days and be able to provide some updates and get some news. And I hope that's not the next thing that we get.
I'm sure everyone who, if you care enough to be listening to this, you probably care enough to want to have some sort of Ohio State athletics in your life at some point. So
yeah, because Tom, we're gonna have to get into summer shows in the spring.
Yeah,
and okay,
we can, we'll make it work. Next one from @bacon_house. This ties into how you preface this whole conversation. So, how are the linebackers and tight ends looking?
Right. And we only got to talk about this for the entire show last week.
Yeah. Still, the answer is still good. Still fine.
Still no positive coronavirus tests, so that's good. Yeah. Baron Browning, perhaps a defensive end at times.
Mm-hmm. Kate Stover, tight end now?
Yep. I do think they're going to play a lot of linebackers, though, and that'll be interesting to see how they plug them all in this plug-and-play defense. Kate Stover at tight end. Him and Jeremy Ruckert provide 2 downfield options, perhaps. Even though Luke Farrell is like the quintessential Ohio State tight end. And I think it's a It's a good group. We don't know if it's an upgrade yet over last year. I think it is. Everybody is a year better. Jeremy Ruckert's a year better. Rashad Berry, I think, only had 2 or 3 catches last year. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's a better group. It's an interesting group for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued to see Jeremy Ruckert in particular this year because this is his 3rd season. He has not had monster numbers, but he's an Ohio State tight end, so he's probably never going to have monster numbers. He did make some, like, you think back to Jeremy Ruckert last year, and it's like, oh yeah, he made some big plays. And I think he had 4 touchdown catches or something like that. But you think back to him, it's like a couple of them were like, oh yeah, that was a big play in that game. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And, Luke Farrell was very good. I think Luke Farrell's one of the more underrated players on that team. And, you're probably not going to make a huge leap from your junior year to your senior year. But if someone like Jeremy Ruckert is viewing this as potentially like a contract year, like J.K. Dobbins did last year, I mean, Jeremy Ruckert has the size, speed, physical tools. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school. He's the kind of player who could potentially leave early for the NFL if he approaches this year in the way J.K. Dobbins did last year, really like this is going to be my contract year, then, he's got all those tools and you've seen enough flashes from him that it's like, oh yeah, this could be something really pretty spectacular this year. Next one from Matt Zadaya. Can you speak about the linebackers and tight ends, maybe?
I really like this group of linebackers. I think they're going to play a lot of them. I wonder what's going to happen with Justin Hilliard as he battles presumably Baron Browning at the Sam and Kayvon Pope. All 3, I think, would be fine there. Mm-hmm. Assuming Pete Werner stays at the will. Mm-hmm. And again, we don't know.
Yeah, we walked away from the first practice of the spring going, well, this is a good start. We'll know a lot more in a week or 2. Yeah. And fact check. Yeah. Mostly true, possibly true.
I think I wrote about the linebackers last Thursday after the Wednesday practice and just talking it out where everybody is. And Pete Werner, we'll see if he stays at. Well, I don't you? And I think I asked you last week's show. Do you think he will? And you weren't sure.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I have no new information on this subject. Really? Yeah.
I believe that Werner will stay at will. Browning will be a Sam. We'll slide down on some passing downs. I think they have to figure out a way to convince Justin Hilliard he's going to play enough to stay. Mm-hmm. And maybe one of the ways you do that is by saying it's, you'll play on passing downs as well because Browning will be sliding down out of that spot. But again, then you're taking snaps away from, is Baron Browning now on the outside with, say, Zach Harrison on the other side, and you've got Tyler Friday and Tyreek Smith on the inside with the rushmen? Is that a way to slide some of those defensive ends inside? Or do you try to pair him with, like when he was outside of Chase Young last year, he was very effective. Mm-hmm. Do you, we don't know, Tom.
Yeah. Again, we have no new information from last week. So
last week's show was a good one.
It was. And, after you listen to this one, you can go back and listen to that one again. We've seen 0 seconds of practice since then, and talked to 0 people since then. Mm-hmm. So
Brian Day was at Walt Disney World.
He was at Walt Disney World. That was
terrifying.
Yeah. I mean,
I hope they drive back. Honestly,
it is nice to see that he's taking a little bit of time. Like even during the middle of spring practice, mm-hmm. like that's actually something that probably bodes relatively well for his long-term time as Ohio State's coach. Because, I mean, burnout is something that gets a lot of coaches. And, he is relatively young, an energy guy. But, you cannot just be 20 hours a day within the walls of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Like, you have to go, like, you got to go be a dad sometimes. You got to go be a husband sometimes. Sometimes it's not bad to just unplug mm-hmm. and go do fun stuff. And
as long as you're still making recruiting calls.
Right. He's I think that so far there's no that has not there has not been any negative impact on that we've seen. you can't stop doing your job altogether. That seems like a bad thing. Don't do that.
Especially now with everybody working from home.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so far it seems like he's struck a very good balance of continuing the results that have been, before him, but also probably setting himself up to be successful long-term and successful and healthy long-term.
Yeah, it's like the 2,000 rep club where you rest some of the guys who don't need as many reps, and that way they're healthier during the season, or it's like rotating your defensive linemen so they're healthier in the fourth quarter and November. This is one of the ways to be healthier in your 8th year. If you take a week off every spring with your family, and you have those days to recharge and those weeks to recharge. And I think I wonder when the last time Urban Meyer, as the head coach of Florida or Ohio State or Bowling Green or Utah, took the week off during spring break to go. Even when there was no spring practice coinciding, like would he have done that?
Yeah, I mean there are coaches who will just recruit all the time. That's all they want to do. Like Nick Saban, rather famously, it was like answering questions. I think it was at a media availability at one point a couple of years ago before one of the bowl games or something, and said, I'd rather be recruiting right now. Like I instead, I'm sitting here talking to you guys instead of talking to recruits. It's like recruiting is super important. Recruiting is the lifeblood of a college football program. But also,
so is the media.
There are, yeah, exactly. You see coaches who are kind of leaving, like Chris Peterson left relatively young. Bob Stoops had some family history that played into his decision, but he also left relatively young. You want to be able to strike that balance, spend time with your family, and you think about it, you personally, you probably don't want to be working every day, every night, every weekend. There is at some point a diminishing return.
Right.
The 18th hour you spend in the building on a Tuesday in April or July, do you really need to watch? You can grind that film if you want to, but
at this point, why, if you're so good, why didn't you have that answer on this film 4 hours ago? You're not. You may be working hard, but you're not smart enough to be working smart. You know.
Yeah, there's a little.
That's right. I said it. Urban Meyer's not smart enough to work smart.
There's a little bit of a performative aspect to the John Gruden. I set my alarm at 3:12 a.m. and I go in and I work 24 hours a day and okay, all right, that's fine. And then John Gruden burned out and left coaching.
There you go.
You can have a little bit of a balance.
Plus, remember, and this is the last thing I'll say.
Ever
last year, how many times did Ryan Day leave work before we did?
We did see him on Wednesday nights when we had we're covering practice and interviews. You would see him leaving at
what about 7:15?
Yeah, 7:30 or so at night. And you know what? Good. You should go home and tuck your kids into bed.
That's
still a long day. You're going to go put in a 12-hour day, and then you're probably making phone calls at some point or texts or whatever. There is a diminishing return at some point, and the avoiding burnout is important.
I think he mentioned that's maybe his only moments of peace is the drive home and the drive to work, in his car, because you tune it all out and you prepare for the day, and then as you're driving home, you're winding down, and then it's time for family.
Yep. We're going to keep this one. We'll skip down the list a little bit so we can stay with the tight ends and linebackers team. At DJ for Ohio, would you rather be quarantined with the linebackers or the tight ends?
Here's my question, Tom. There are more linebackers than tight ends.
Yeah, you're going right to where I'm going.
Is the room commensurate with the population, or is it the same size room? It doesn't say. If it's the same size room, I want fewer people.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I think in general, with the whole point of a quarantine is fewer people is generally good. So I think that's the answer right
Plus,
there.
Tuff Borland doesn't really like the media, and we haven't had any issues with the tight ends. So go with the side that is most agreeable to your job, and that would be the tight ends.
Yeah, I think so.
Because every year we write about how this is the year of the tight ends at Ohio State, and we have never ever written this is the year of the Ohio State linebackers.
Yep. And follow up from @Propellerhead, our buddy Josh Inglis. Is this the year we finally quarantine tight ends? It's a great question. It's the spring, so we have to say yes. This is the time of year when we say that they will quarantine tight ends.
They will be quarantined.
But in the fall, they will not be quarantined. Yes. Next one from at @VanGo_0. Are the two of you social distancing from one another in your car studio? Answer, no.
No.
We're recording exactly the way we normally do.
For you people.
Yes. We'll see how long this continues. If
we won't do a show for 14 days after this to see if there's any incubation period going on.
Yeah, it's a shocking dose of normalcy in sitting in a car in the normal spot.
Right, back to podcasting normalcy.
Last one from @BrockDoctor. Assuming we're all headed to Mad Max Thunderdome style arenas, what are some amenities we can provide to lure recruits away from a mercenary lifestyle?
A guitar that shoots flames, like in the last Mad Max movie. Like, yeah, Clemson, you got a slide. Look what our guitars do. Mm-hmm. They shoot flames. Mm-hmm. Like, who's going to say no to that? Granted, not everybody plays guitars, but everybody loves a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm. Ohio State is a baseball team. Give them the baseball bats with the nails and, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
I think any type of weapon, that you can come up with is great. And I was actually thinking before that question earlier today, like, if things go south and we still record in like parking lots, they're going to be like crazy vehicles and trucks and everything Mad Max style going on around us. In order to blend in, then would we have to trick out our vehicles in that same manner so that we don't look like victims? Like the whole the Purge movies. The people who are getting purged are the ones who go out dressed look like normal people. If you put a mask on and you look all purgy, you're going to be left alone. So we would have to record by looking all Mad Maxy. And I think maybe we would get left alone unless we were recording in a gasoline truck.
Now you're thinking.
That would be dumb.
That would be bad. That would be bad. Yes. Do not drive around right now in a truck with toilet paper on the side. Like that's not.
We would not want to do that. Tom, we can't bring out the Charmin truck this week. Why don't we just break out the leather shoulder pads and mohawks?
Excuse me, sir. I specifically asked you not to squeeze my truck. Little timely Mr. Whipple reference there. Yes. Just want to give everyone a quick update from Chris Holtman, who is doing a press conference right now. It said Ohio State had a lengthy walkthrough this morning. This is from Kyle Rowland. He and a couple other coaches were walking around downtown Indy when Gene Smith told them that the Big Ten tournament was canceled. Holtman, quote, "We understand it. We support the Big Ten. I certainly do. I know Gene Smith, our athletic director, does. We feel like it was the right decision and the right call. There was just too much concern about where this was headed."
Yeah. Players didn't want to play. Coaches, concerned about their players. And once the players don't want to play, good luck, having any type of interesting competition.
Right. If you want to watch a bunch of basketball players who don't want to play basketball, just I'm sure Fox Sports Ohio is running classic Cavs games from earlier this year. Just watch those.
There you go.
Get your
with John Beeline on the sideline.
And here's a suggestion. If you are really jonesing for March Madness, I don't know if the NCAA is super strict about pulling stuff off YouTube, but just go watch. Find some random old NCAA game, and I'm sure that ESPN will probably be doing this. I love doing this with football games. In the middle of July, when you're I would stab someone in the neck for a football game, go find some Conference USA game last year that you didn't watch, that you don't know who won, and watch it. It doesn't matter. It's new to you. It's not I've seen this.
The whole NBC Thursday nights back in the 90s when they would run.
If you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
There you go.
Yeah, go find some old NCAA tournament game where you don't remember who won and watch that.
Or, along with that, go find the 1990, and it is on YouTube, or at least it was, Loyola Marymount against Michigan NCAA tournament game. Still one of the greatest games, I think. Off the top of my head, I think the score is 141 to 105.
I was thinking 149 to 131, but I will look it up right now and we'll see who's smarter.
Let's see, 131. But that game, it was insane to watch live. Loyola Marymount playing without Hank Gathers, of course, led by Bo Kimball, Jeff Fryer.
But 149 to 115.
Oh, we were both semi-off.
149 points in a basketball game. Michigan scored 115 points and got blown out.
Because Michigan went in thinking, yeah, we can run with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think UNLV then played them, because then I believe they played UNLV next, and UNLV beat them. But the game before, maybe 2 games before, they were playing Alabama and Wimp Sanderson. And Alabama was like, no, we're not going to run with them. I think the final score of that was like 62-60.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Something like that, yeah.
Where
I'm looking at the box score of the Michigan game now. Jeff Fryer, 11 for 15 from 3 points.
Yeah. And he would step back and then shoot on fast breaks.
Yeah, the amazing thing is that Bo Kimball, who was the best player on that team, was 10 for 21 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3 points. Yeah. So their best player was 1 for 8 from 3, and they scored 149 points.
They had Terrell Lowry on that team as well, point guard.
Yes, he was one of the backups. They ran, and they played 7 players in that game for any meaningful amount of time.
And they were in condition because that's what they did. It was fun to watch. And then coming up against UNLV, it was going to be huge, but UNLV was just way too good for them, and of course Michigan wasn't. Yeah,
that is a team that was as fun to watch as any team I can remember. I mean, that Loyola Marymount team, like just the style of play, the level of play, like the level of play, the level of activity on the court. Yeah. It was like literally don't blink or you'll miss it. That was remarkable.
They pull up one guy on a fast break, 1-on-3, pull up for 3. There'd be like no reason to do this, but they would, and you're like, you're seeing something completely new and outrageous, and you couldn't turn away from it.
Yeah, Loyola Marymount was beat New Mexico State 111-92 in the first round, Michigan 149-115 in the second round, Alabama 62-60 in the third round,
wow,
and then lost to UNLV in the fourth round in the Elite Eight, 131-101, and that was a monster UNLV team, like monster.
Larry Johnson, Stacey Ogman, Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony, Moses Scurry,
David Butler,
number 30, number 000, or number 0. So many good guys on that team, and only really 1.5-2 good pros.
Yeah, yeah.
That was UNLV. What do you think about this? Somebody compared E.J. Liddell to Larry Johnson recently. There's a ways to go.
I was going to say, eventually maybe, sure. Put it this way. If he gets there, that's a pretty big win for Ohio State.
So that's something to think about down the road. Anything else, Tom? Any other questions?
Maybe we should start recommending old NCAA tournament games, but maybe we'll see. Maybe we may need another show topic next week, so maybe we'll recommend
any of the Indiana games from the 91-92 Ohio State season. But in terms of tournament games,
maybe save it for next show. I have a whole bunch of events. I have a bunch of like very formative games from the.
What about like Randolph Childress going off in the ACC tournament for Wake, but. I remember, the NCAA tournament, it's just so sad. We're talking about it like it's already gone. But it will be by the time we talk to you guys next week. Right?
Well, sure seems like it might be. So, I have not seen...
It's still on, though, right now, right?
As far as I can tell, the NFL is just... NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell notified the clubs today that after careful consideration and consultation with medical experts, the NFL's annual meeting scheduled for March 29th through April 1st has been canceled. I'm going to guess that will probably also potentially include Ohio State's Pro Day, which is 4 days before that and would involve people flying in from all over the country.
Yeah, and that's the thing there. Like the travel restrictions for all of these teams and universities, it's like, well, how do you continue? Right. Unless you do it everything remotely and you leave it to the schools to record everything, or you just... Because the draft is late April, and this is always about the 2-week span of when pro days are, and like mid to late March. So maybe you can move stuff, or you just do it without it.
Our friend Andy Anders tweets: Duke and Kansas have both withdrawn from the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
Penn State announces it is suspending all football activities until further notice, including practices. This is all stuff that's happened in the last, 5 to 10 minutes while we've been talking.
So, I mean, if you say Duke and Kansas or Kansas State?
Duke and Kansas, which,
So that's it.
Kansas might be just,
Yeah. This is all going to be vacated
self-imposing, yes. Yeah, the
NCAA can't move forward with this when their own member institutions are pulling players out because of safety concerns. They're not going to be like, oh, you pansies.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, we'll just fill your spot.
Yeah.
You want in NC State? You got it.
No one wants NC State.
You want in Kansas State? You got it. So yeah, that's the end of that chapter.
Ohio Governor... that's a deep cut. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says an order will be issued banning mass gatherings of more than 100 people within the state of Ohio. That does not include athletic events that exclude spectators. Also does not include... ban includes movie theaters, outdoor stadiums, indoor arenas. Does not include libraries, shopping malls, typical offices, restaurants, grocery stores, etc.
It does include the movie theater right over there, but it does not include the restaurant over there?
Yeah, correct.
What's the difference?
Well, one shows movies.
Well, fair point. Why is it okay in a movie? Why is it okay in a restaurant? Because obviously there are more people involved in the that economy.
We'll see if we can get Mike DeWine on the podcast next week to answer these questions. I have no answers for you here.
But you're on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, Tom, we better call it a show before anything else happens.
Yeah, before they ban podcasting of two or more people inside a car.
There goes the entire podcasting industry, as far as we know.
What a loss to society.
All right. As long as there's nothing else going on as you scroll.
Nope. Okay. Weddings, funerals, and expressions of First Amendment rights not included in the ban. So.
Okay. So fall weddings are still on.
No, those are banned. That's actually my order.
Governor Tom throwing it down. All right, thank you all for listening as you are cocooned. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, Lord knows what we'll be talking about. Here's how to hoard gasoline.
What you do is you dump it into the toilet paper. Toilet paper soaks it up,
mm-hmm.
and then you've cut your space in half.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
Or doubled it. I don't know math.
Yeah, it's complicated.
All right. It is complicated. All right. We'll talk to you later. Have a safe week.
Have a week.
Yeah. Enjoy all the stuff that's going to happen in your life in the next few days. And then we'll all get through it together.
And let's take care of each other, friends.
Yes. Exactly.
Let's think of others. Let's
Mm-hmm.
be kind. Let's be patient. We'll all get through this together.
Exactly. Well said, Tom. You all have a good week.
She threw away the motel key. I wish it never meant nothing to me. Say you will, now say you will. Oh yeah. Say you will, now say you will. If you tell me that tomorrow's alright, we could steal a car and leave tonight. the morning.